The camera wrong. Morning, everybody, from the Philippines. It is, what time is it? I forgot. Around 8 o'clock. 8:14 on Thursday morning. And mostly want to put out, I don't know if anybody saw it last night. I got a little drunk and put out a video about somebody wanted to send me money for Helen or us money for our wedding. Oh my goodness, what was that? Something went buzz. Oh, it's probably YouTube telling me I'm live. It always comes in late. Anyway, uh, and at any rate, somebody had wanted to send Helen and I some money because we're married. Good morning. We're getting married, and that's fine. Unfortunately, I do not have a PayPal set up. I do not have a GoFundMe set up. Someone told me you can do stuff through Facebook. Haven't found it. And the problem I'm having setting it up is I don't have a Philippine bank account or an American phone number. I need one or the other to actually set one up. Oops, sorry. I'm not trying to hold this phone right. And because of that, I can't set one up. And thanks, anybody that wants to send some, that'd be great. Um, we'll survive without it. Not well, but we will. It'll be better in a few months, hopefully, after we're married, because that'll increase my Social Security, and after the baby comes, we'll be doing great. But between now and then, it is tight. But oh, can you set up cash? I'm not sure what you mean by cash. There's things like Gcash and all that, but I gotta give you too much personal information to have you send me cash uh, that way. But the problem with the PayPal's and all that is you have to Gcash. Yeah, but I don't know. I already have one, but it's I got to give you too much. Like I got to give you hell. Right now, she has a bank account. I have to give you her bank account numbers to pay my. I'm have to look into that one. I don't know what that is. At any rate, with the PayPal's and GoFundMe, it has to be based off of well, if you're in the U.S., not a problem. You have a U.S. phone number. They send you an activation code. It's through text. I cannot get the text because they can't even use my Philippine phone numbers for that. Is to give full name and phone number. I'll look into it. Is that for Pay Maya? I didn't even know Pay Maya. All I know is I couldn't set up PayPal and I couldn't set other things up. So until I got it figured out. Okay. I got a friend in the U.S. so I could probably use his number to set up a proper PayPal to actually activate the damn thing. Once it's active, you can use it. If you're going to come here, set up that shit before you come. And especially because I want the money going into the U.S. bank. I don't want it coming here to the Philippines. For me to set up a Philippine bank account, I got to give them a couple thousand pesos and basically kind of leave it there in the bank. They're a bit of a pain in the ass. I don't know if you've seen some of Paul's blogs where he wanted to clear out a bank account. They still made him leave. I think it was Paul. I'm not sure. But they still made him leave a few pesos in the bank to clear out the account. Oh, that was weird. And I have a Philippine bank account, but it's got the money in it from my for my visa, and I can't touch that money. It has to stay there. I pull even $1 out of that account, my visa goes bye-bye. So it has to maintain at least that 1,500 US dollars in the Philippine bank account till I die, and then hell, you can take it. So that'll be a little extra bonus for her. Maybe I could use that as a long-term savings account, like a. Don't even tell her. Don't tell her. She'll watch these videos. But would be an interesting way. You can set up an 800 to have. Oh, media. Yeah. Well, I don't have the spare. I mean, we were down the last, not last month, month before, we were down to 40 pesos at the end of the month. 1300, I'm getting slightly less than 1300, and that isn't quite enough. I should have got a little bit cheaper apartment. Sucks we didn't see that house we just looked at yesterday. Before I rented this, I would have grabbed it in a minute. It has really nice parking outside. It has chickens. It's cramped in with some other Filipino houses, and it's probably going to be a karaoke nightmare. But it's up the mountain, I think on a dead end road. I'm not sure. It's pretty far up the hill in Valencia, but it's not like where Paul's place is. It's higher. But the guy was telling me they get fog up there, and well, fog down here in Bagong. But I do actually like living down here in Bagong, even though I got to run the air more. It also had a weird master bedroom, very tiny. It's a huge, huge, huge living room, and then two tiny little rooms. For a single guy, that'd be a fantastic place. Because you have, you can put your dressers outside the bedroom, or just have a smaller bed. But it was a nice spot, all in all. Except for being actually on the road being on a hill, you're going to hear a little bit more noise from a motorcycle climbing the grade. But I don't think there's a shitload of traffic going by. So it's hard to tell. A truck went by when we were there when I was backing out. It had to go pretty darn slow, but it wasn't really noisy. But some trucks are. Mostly it's the bikes. Guys running around with basically an open pipe. It's pretty common here, or at least a very, very loud muffler. But what I wanted to get back to the money, please guys, don't start asking Jenny to forward it to me. She's a very nice lady. She's a friend of mine. She's contacted me that some people are contacting her, asking if they send her money, can they forward it? And that's not right, man. Don't get her involved in that. That's just not her job. And she has told me that if somebody does, she will forward it, but it's just not right, So I appreciate that, guys. Don't involve somebody else. I'll figure something. I'll look at these comments and I'll remember these. Oh, I'm terrible memory, so I'll look back at this Maya stuff and the Gcash stuff, see if I can set something up. And I very much appreciate if somebody does send me something. Right now, we really could use it the next few months. Luckily, things seem to have settled down here with the landlord. Part of the reason we were looking at the house yesterday was because of what was going on here. But just after I set up to go look at the house, is when we were able to have a decent conversation with the landlord, and seems to have flattened out that they're realizing the asshole lives next door is the one who's the problem, playing games, manipulating the woman that owns this place, who has been in Belgium since COVID and has never even seen the building. And because of that, all she sees is pictures, and she thinks this place is perfect, and it was far from perfect. And of course, I got the worst of the 5 apartments, and we had a whole bunch of stuff, but it's all minor stuff. But yet it got blown out of proportion. And Jenny and I are going to do a sit down where we're going to talk about landlord-tenant interrelations, things to look at on leases. One of the clauses in this lease was, you fix everything. How much? I'm paying $20,000, which is just under $400. But this is a good sized building. This space is probably at least 1.5 times the space of that house. But the house had other advantages. It's the house by itself. It had a nice carport, easily parked two full-size pickups in there, and that was brand new. The only thing was, it was kind of laid out weird because it used to be, I think, part of a family compound, and they added a gate and separated it off. The house is sort of laid out backwards for where the driveway is. You literally got to go. You pull in on the one side, and then you have to walk around to the other side to get in the front door. They have like a porch with a little opening in it, but the opening's on the wrong side, away from the driveway. the, all the windows look out to the far side where other buildings are. I suspect the wall is there, went up because they decided to rent the property out. But they didn't sort of readjust the way it's built. Like it seemed, even the bedrooms seemed like they're on the wrong side of the building. But it's not a bad place. Like I said, I would have grabbed it in a heartbeat if we weren't, if we had found it before this. The house is down here in Bokong. I definitely want to get together with that I found. It's a pretty feral house. It needs to be fixed up. See if we can work a deal so that we can pick that one up in February when our lease runs out here. But fixed up, not the way it is now. It's definitely going primitive if I move there. Everything, including the upstairs floor that was doing this between the joists. There's a wooden frame floor with plywood, and the plywood they used was too thin. So that's one of the things right off the bat it needed. And it needed screens, it needed possibly a water tank, it needed so a lot of cleaning. It could use a paved driveway and parking spot. It actually is paved right up to the gate, but then after the gate it goes dirt, and it's about 50 meters to the house. So anytime you come and go, you're dragging that dirt on your tires towards the house, which isn't that big a deal for the vehicle, but when you get off and you climb and you go inside, you're bringing that dirt on your shoes. So that, it can be lived with. Its house is actually sitting in the shade. It's actually not bad. A very shaded lot on a huge piece of property that I wish I had the money to buy. Could easily be broken down into multiple lots, and it's literally probably maybe 600 yards from the ocean, and about the same distance from where Mark Thornton lived. And there is a beach down there. There is a tall seawall, about 10, 12 feet, and a set of stairs to get down to the beach. There's a very small beach, and then one side it's all rocks. And there's actually a house down there for sale for $17 million, right there where the staircase is. I went down there talking to the security guards after I saw it, wondering if I was allowed to go down the stairs. I didn't head down because I didn't need to get down there, but it is a steep staircase, and I didn't want to take a chance on falling down. But it's right where I was having a chat with how much for what? Oh, the other house. I don't know yet. I haven't been able to talk to the landlord yet to find out what they're asking for it. I do know it's for rent. I do know it's also for sale. And it's literally like 3 football fields of land. And next to it is almost as big a piece of property, and that's like the piece that would connect the property directly to the beach. It'd be a fantastic place to build a group of houses, like some. I don't know if you can do it here or not. I was curious about it when I first started hearing about condos. Could you create individual houses on a like a development, but the houses be considered condos? And that would be interesting. If you can do that, which you probably can, or they'd already be doing it, you Westerners could buy the house with the land under it, because they wouldn't technically own the land. That'd be a nice spot. Especially the piece that is connected to the beach. That's all just jungle. There's one old Filipino house there, and the rest is just all jungle right down to. Now there is a road that goes along the beach. You don't actually own the beach, but from where that place is, right in front of it is all rocks. But slightly to the right, if you're standing there, is where this large seawall. Actually, the seawall starts right where the road. The road comes down, and on one side is like jungle property. On the other side is a lot that's been purchased recently by the house that's there for $17 million. Or I'm sorry, pesos, which is like 300 something thousand. I don't know. For every million, what is it, I don't know. I have a list in there that I look at every time I'm trying to figure it out. I'm tired. Don't ever quote me on prices. I said that house the other day in a video was $160. I corrected it was like 360. Well, I thought I said 360 in the video until I watched it. I don't script this shit. I just do it, man. But at any rate, I'm watching these guys digging up stuff on TV here with metal detectors. Oh, it's Duck Family Treasure. Oh, some bit on Fox News. Oh, this phone is big. I should have put my little bracket for holding it. I got a freaking tripod I could have mounted it on. At any rate, I mostly put up the video because I wanted to make sure people don't go bothering Jenny with forwarding money to me. We'll figure it out. And I'll look at these new methods and see if I can get something set up. But most of the time what I'm running into is when I wanted the money to go to the U.S., into a bank in the U.S., which I can get it out of very easily, it wants, because that'll affect taxes for my taxes. I don't need to get hell in the middle of my taxes or having to pay taxes for money that's coming in on my side. Well, our side, but, you know. At any rate, shit, I just lost my train of thought. I actually saw my mind yesterday. I saw it running down the street going, ah! I used to use that joke with guys. I said, I think you've lost your mind. What? Oh, I saw it go running down the street screaming. Oh, my. Showing a power line pole laying on the ground. I wonder what happened there. Big one, like transmission lines. Like it got knocked the hell over. Why the power company prepare for no. Huh. I don't know what that's about. Strangely, my father was actually probably one of the key elements in the way power lines look today. Back in the 60s, the power company wanted to run a power lines through Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He was a zoning officer, and he lobbied for them to make them. They at the time were just basically a square box tower, ugly. And he basically said, "Look, make them look better." And they came up with the design now where it has a Y at the bottom and then it Y's out at the top. And the idea that it would look more like a tree. It wouldn't look as obnoxious. And that's a pretty common style of tower line pole all across the country. And it's actually stronger than a square box. So it didn't take much to convince the electric company to redesign the towers. My father was an interesting man. He's actually one of the engineers that put GPS satellites in space back in the 1960s. He worked for the Navy in aeronautical engineering. He worked on early stealth research. He worked on zero altitude ejection seats. I have even seen ejection seats when I was there as a kid that actually had cruise missile engines mounted in the seat and inflated into an airplane. That was the coolest thing ever. And it could fly 50 miles before it ran out of fuel. So think about that. A guy ejects and he can literally fly 50 miles away from where he's shot down before he's got to land. That, and it's a tiny little thing. And inflatable aircraft actually go all the way back to World War II. They had a inflatable that they could drop in a parachute to a downed pilot. And I mean, it literally had a little rope, loops of rope that you put around your feet for your rudder in the back, and I mean it just inflated. It was made by Goodyear, and it's basically that same technology. It's not that complicated, and of course I think it had wire stays for the wings to make them a little more rigid and everything. But there's actually video. You can look up inflatable airplanes on Google. I'm sure you'll see it. Probably black and white of some pilot getting this thing dropped to him, and I've seen a video about it many years ago. This particular ejection seat, they inflated out of the side of the seat, and a tail inflated around the back, and a nose cone inflated in front of the pilot. And but I think they found out, and they had three different versions of this. One turned into a gyro glider, one turned into a hang glider, all with engine power. But I think they gave up on the idea because it was a little too complex at the time, or the fuel for the motor was too dangerous to have under the pilot's butt, which I more suspect that's what it was. But it was basically the engine from a cruise missile. Well, it looks like politics are getting interesting in the U.S. Maybe we'll finally get an independent. As long as it ain't Trump, I'm not that concerned. The man is out of control and a danger to America and my Social Security check. Republicans want to shut down Social Security. When you hear them talking about we got to get rid of entitlements, that's one of the things. That's the two big things: is Medicaid and Social Security. Not let's make the damn rich pay their share. It was actually one of the interesting things I ran out with guys coming from Russia, talking about that basically a Russian in communist Russia used to get, no matter what their job was, 30 days vacation a year. And there were resorts all over, and you were allowed to set up to go to that resort up to 30 days. It didn't come out of your pocket. It was part of the government supplied that. That's actually kind of an interesting concept. I doubt very much it would work very well here in the United States. I keep going here. When I'm not here, I'm there. Or there. Oh, I'm not there. I'm here. But I don't want people calling me a communist because I say something like what Bernie Sanders did, which was a benign statement of some communist ideas aren't bad. And they aren't, actually. But, I mean, Social Security in itself is a socialist idea. So is medical, I can't pronounce, my brain ain't working, but socialized medicine. Exactly in the very word of what it says. Social Security. It is a social program, and social programs, to be more technical in a sense, are some communist ideas, but it doesn't make you communist. As long as you have free elections and freedom of choice, it is not communism. That's where Putin played games, apparently. I've talked to a lot of Russian guys that are here that have bailed out of Russia to keep from ending up in this crappy war. And one of the things that one guy told me was that they had term limits early on in him running for being president there. But the first thing that he did was him and another guy were swapping back and forth. Because it wasn't, you could run again. You can go back and get in. And they were swapping back and forth. And they were playing, everybody was sure that they were playing games for the election anyway, that one of them would win. And the other dude would basically step up and be president for a few years, and then Putin would come back. But Putin was always in charge. And eventually, Putin manipulated to get rid of the term limit altogether. And he's actually been in power longer than Stalin at this point. The richest man in the world, and wants to steal Ukraine, put the Soviet Union back together, wants to put the band back together. I mean, a lot of people are complaining we're wasting money on Ukraine, but it ain't a waste. It's literally the beginning of the Cold War if we do not stop him now. And would you rather send U.S. boys there to die or send U.S. money there to be burned up killing him? I'd rather send my money. Give them the guns. They're very passionate people. Oh, damn internet connected and disconnected. The Ukrainians would burn themselves to the ground before giving it to Putin. And there's plenty of them. They will fight him to death. Let's just keep sending him the money. They'll take him out eventually. Unfortunately, he's also ex-KGB, so he knows how to not get assassinated. I think the oligarchs eventually are going to start doing that. Thanks for the Russians inside of Russia that are now, it's starting to become an internal civil matter in Russia. But again, you're dealing with somebody who's ex-KGB and he used to run the KGB. Anyway, folks, main thing was money. Please don't ask Jenny. It's not her job. And like I said, she's a good friend of mine, and we will be doing a video soon about landlord-tenant relations. She knows a lot of realtors here. We're getting all kind of backfeed information about this idiot next door that, like when the one realtor was being told, disconnected again, that we're nut jobs. It was mostly their like the one of those girls this guy was dating, and he was just a whole big progression of that they're starting to realize this asshole is playing games, and he's been playing the owner of this place in Belgium. He wants to buy land, but he's so obnoxious, ugly, that he'll never meet it. And he thinks all women here are nothing but prostitutes looking for money. So he will never find love here. He will never be able to own land because he can't. And he will die here a miserable prick. In fact, I'm actually hoping he bought motorcycles, and I'm praying he crashes and burns, because it'll happen eventually. What really sucks is he came with like twice the money I got, but yet is the most ignorant son of a bitch I've ever met, or one of the most ignorant son of a bitches I've ever met. And had been just going out of his way to get rid of me because he didn't like what I was doing. Even a particular incident where I put bags of trash out for the guy here to take. I put them where it was convenient for him to take. And he's calling up the landlord saying I'm throwing trash all over the place. And it wasn't that. It was literally tied up in a bag at the end of the driveway, away from the front of my house. I didn't have to smell it, waiting for the maintenance guy to haul it off. And their system here is you give him 20 pesos and he hauls it off. Since then, I don't do that anymore. I put it in the back of my trike, drive it down to town, and drop it off for free. And it doesn't cost me much to drive the bike. Like, actually, it was right there where John crashed, which is still sad. John is coming around, by the way. He is already starting to sit up in the bed. He's off the feeding tube. He's still, his mind is definitely damaged. How extensive yet, we don't know for sure, because he can't communicate well yet, or at all, or much at all, like a name or hello and things like that. But when you hand him a phone, he'll sit and look at it and watch it, things like that. So hopefully in a few years his mind will come back enough that he'll be able to communicate well. I think it's going to take probably at least a year, or at least 6 months maybe, before he can say much, because he sort of has to repair his own mind to get his mouth to work, or his thinking to work enough to speak. But apparently he does recognize a lot of people. He does say names, I think, on a few people, and he is coming around, so thank God for that. We'll see how that plays out. And he's got a lot of friends that are backing him up and making sure that he gets properly cared for, and that his sister don't steal all his money, because she's a drunk. And she's actually trying to get a medical power of attorney on him, and she hopefully won't be able to get that, because he was very adamant about not letting her anywhere near his money. That she'll take it and Jenna will be screwed. We have offered to take Jenna in if that happens, or anything like that happens, like her and John. But that's all, folks. Let me let it go. It's already a 30-minute video, and only one person still watching. But if you tune in later, this is what it's about. Don't ask somebody else to forward money to me. Thank you. Have a good one, guys. Oh shit, where's, oh, that button.